Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
Oh, the
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is June 3rd, 2026, a Wednesday. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil, episode 441. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. We got 3 things on the docket today. We got the Ask the BSC. We got 4 questions submitted to us. Thank you again. If you have any questions for us in the Ask Me Anything, it's an Instagram story that we put up 24 hours before we record. I actually was smart enough and did it this time. We had 4 questions submitted. Thank you. And if you want to submit or have any questions for us, just go to the Instagram 24 hours before we record, Sunday or Mondays, depending on when we record. It'll be posted. We got way too early NLL rankings because we're NLL nut jobs and there's so many weird things going on in the NLL. Let's give some weird noise from ourselves that people can criticize this early on. And then we got the 5th annual BSC Sabres Award Show. I got my old Sabres Dominic Hasek jersey on and Sabres hat on to hand out some awards for the 5th time. But how we start every off-season show. Phil, what did you do this last week? Because I know Sunday didn't treat you very well.
No, it did not. Yeah, Saturday night, we closed down Tap That Tap Room and
Epic fashion.
said goodbye. Yeah, it was a little too epic of the fashion. We closed it. I did win darts, which was great, and we played a lot of giant Jenga, which went really well. I didn't lose a single time, so that was great. And then we ended up trying to kick a keg, and that was a mistake on our part. Sunday was a wash, pretty much just laid in bed, recovering the whole day, and a little bit of today as well. But Saturday, before all that, I found some scrap wood in the garage and cut a little shelf to go on top of our glass china cabinet. And it's pretty much just a hole up there, so I had to cut a cover so the wife could add some more things to the top of it, and she was very thrilled with that. So got to use yield saw, always a good time, and that was most of Saturday too. I feel like there was something else that happened this week, but I don't know what it was.
That's fair. Sorry, I was looking through all the new stuff because we're still figuring out the website that we use. There will not be a drum roll anymore. It's not a feature and it's not one of our things. I was looking at it for today's episode, and yeah, I don't have it. They got rid of it. We said goodbye to Tap That Tap Room. You made the mistake of saying, let's try to get rid of this tap, and we learned later on, before, we learned that on the right-hand side, it says how much liquid is still in the keg. And we found the 2 lowest ones, and then we're like, let's do this one because it's got less sugar in it. They didn't tell us that it was the giant keg, so the little bar goes down lower and lower, and every time we thought we were close, we weren't close. Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad, but we did kick it.
It hurt you a lot more than it hurt me. I was fine the next morning. I was a little bad, but nothing close to you. I had to check in on you multiple times. But yeah, that was fun. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for everything you did for us and just everybody else. Thanks for everybody that showed up that weekend to kind of help us try to shut it down. And we kicked 2 of the 30 taps, so we did a pretty good job. Friday and Saturday, I power washed the whole back of the house, the porch, because my backyard's a mud pit. So running up the new back steps was just, it looks like a brand new set of stairs now on the back porch because I cleaned it. I cleaned off the fence because we're going to be staining that. I cleaned off the shed, the whole back of the house, and I must have gotten bit so many times in the same spot of my hand that when I showed up to Tap That Tap Room on Saturday night, my right hand was more swollen than my left hand.
It was, very obviously.
It was bad. I mean, it didn't hurt, but it was noticeably that it was like a little puffier. And then Sunday we played disc golf, lost to
It
Mike
took a
P
lot of
by
your
one.
blood.
Yeah, they took a lot of my blood. Sunday, Ellicott Creek Park lost by one to Mike P. Battled back. I was down by like four, and then I was just +1 on the back nine, and close.
He's
But
good. He's good.
he's very good. But we'll dive into the show today. Let's start with the Ask the BSC. And this one comes in from somebody, and I didn't get it on the last show, so we're putting it to first start on this show. And it's an interesting question. Do former players make good head coaches? And they use the example of Martin St. Louis because he beat Buffalo, or Lindy Ruff, or John Tavares, or the countless other ones. And I think they can, but they're not like the exception, because you've seen like Wayne Gretzky come in and he's failed as a head coach. So I think the NLL has a better track record of good players being great head coaches. Like you look across the league in Pat Coyle and Kurt Malowski and so on and so forth, that are some of the top players in the league and turn into good coaches. To me, I think a good coach is one that forms their coaching style and coaching philosophy to the players they have, rather than try to make the players they have fit a certain system. And when they're able to do that, I think they make really good head coaches, regardless of if they played or not. But I also think that the toughest part of being a former player, because a lot of former players that go into coaching are like bigger guys, like head honchos. But I feel like a lot of the ones that are successful outside of like the NLL are ones that are more role players, like a Lindy Ruff. He wasn't a superstar type of player, because you can kind of relate to everybody. It's not like you just were, I don't want to say spoon fed, but you weren't like the best player on every team you ever played for. Like John Tavares, great head coach. He's like one of the exceptions of this rule, that he was probably the best player on every single one of his teams he ever played on. But he's able to relate to not just the star players that he coaches, but the role players and all the different positions. So if you're a head coach that's able to kind of relate to all elements of the team, I think that makes you a really good head coach. And that's why I think a lot of the more role type of players, again, not the exception, but I feel like a lot of the role type of players are the ones that had to battle for literally every spot on every team they ever played for. They're able to relate to more of the players than if you're just like a star player that goes into coaching. It's tougher to relate to the guys that are more role players that do the dirty work to free up the star players. So I do think that they can be good head coaches, but it's more about their philosophy that makes them good head coaches. Just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're going to be a great head coach, and just because you're might be a role player doesn't mean you're going to be a bad head coach. I think it really comes down to your philosophy, and if you're able to form to the players you have, rather than go in and try to make them form to your style.
Yeah, I think there's positives and negatives for sure. I think sometimes it's nice to have a head coach that understands the grind and understands everything you've been through as a player and a season and playoffs and all that. But on the other hand, sometimes it's nice to have a head coach that doesn't know any of that stuff and can separate themselves as a coach versus a player and just be like, you guys go play. I'm going to worry about coaching. And it's like completely separate. Whereas I feel like John Tavares, who's, again, incredible and does great things, but I feel like a lot of the players respect him because of his playing career. But he also, I feel like, is still kind of acting as a player when he's coaching. I feel like he's getting in their mindset and figuring out what works for the team based on what he would do as a player, not necessarily always what he would do as a head coach. But I think that's what makes him a really good head coach. And I think we've seen, I want to say, a few Sabres head coaches fail because they're trying to fit players into a system that doesn't work, and it's just their system. And I feel like a player can maybe see that a little bit better because they have been through multiple systems in their career and they know kind of what works with what players, and maybe they can see that like this is what I wanted to bring in, but it's clearly not working with who's out there. And like you said, it's all about finding a system that works for the players that are on your team, not making the players play the system that works for you. And it's great for a head coach to come in with a system that works, with a system that's successful. It's great to like have a kind of mind frame is not it. Framework, I guess is what I'm trying to say. For the team and like what you want to do and like have a system again that works really well. But if you get there and the players that are on that team can't make that system work for whatever reason, then you need a head coach that's going to be able to adjust. And I feel like sometimes a player head coach might be able to see that a little bit quicker and might be more willing to adjust because of all the systems they've played throughout their career and knowing what works and what doesn't. But like you said, I feel like it's more of an exception to the rule than it is a successful thing because we've seen plenty of head coaches that are former players not work out. And I feel like there's way more coaches than there are players that turned coaches. So I feel like it's not necessarily your framework of success, or it's not going to be, not everybody's going after the coaches that were former players. I feel like most organizations want a coach that's a head coach and has done that throughout their whole career. But there are exceptions where it works out, like you said, St. Louis and Lindy and JT and a few others. But when you have somebody as great as Wayne Gretzky is, and like he can't make it work, I feel like that's a great example of, okay, it simply just doesn't work for everybody. You need to have certain attributes that make you a good head coach that also made you a great player. Like it doesn't simply just because you're a great player doesn't mean it's instantly going to translate into a good head coach.
Yeah, that's why Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player of all time, is not a head coach. We'll move on here. Who is your Buffalo sports Mount Rushmore? And again, I said this last week, and I think that is a big reason why we got this question is I like blending all three major league sports teams in this area. I know the Bisons are out there. Shut up. But I'll put it to you first, Phil. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of Buffalo sports?
I like your list. I was going through everything, and I feel like some are pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Most of your list is honestly pretty obvious. I
Yeah, I
think
think the top two is very obvious.
is
Then
that
because of who we cover, the top three is easiest. And then it's the fourth one that I think could be interchangeable. I picked the fourth one because,
of the shirt you're wearing.
just the shirt I'm
Yep,
wearing.
yep, 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 yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Gilbert Perreault, obviously, he's got to
Obviously,
be up there.
yep.
Bruce
Easy,
Smith, one of the greatest defensive linemen, one of the greatest NFL players of all time.
pretty easy.
Only one with 200 career sacks. He's up there. And then you got to have John Tavares, one of the greatest lacrosse players of all time, has to be up there. And
Yep.
I think a big part of that is two of the three played their entire careers here in Buffalo.
Yep.
And Bruce Smith played the majority of his career here in Buffalo. For the fourth one, I'll give you my honorable mentions first because I think everybody knows what the fourth one is, especially if you're watching it on YouTube. I think Andre Reed is a good honorable mention. I think Thurman Thomas is an honorable mention. I even have Ryan Miller up there because of his longevity and his numbers that he put up here in Buffalo. Jim Kelly's obviously up there. I think Dane and Josh Allen, I should say, Dane Smith, Josh Allen are both approaching it. And I think by the time their careers are done, they're either going to be there or you're going to have to add more heads to the Mount Rushmore. Like, it would be tough to be able to kick some of these guys out, but I think they're definitely on their way. My fourth one is Dominic Hasek, and it's because of the level he played and the amount of teams that he had to carry on his back, and then also the level he played at across the league. Like, Andre Reed, was he ever the greatest wide receiver in the NFL during his time in Buffalo? I would say he would be up there, but I don't think he would be considered the greatest wide receiver. Same, I think Thurman Thomas, he is an MVP under his belt, but to me, sorry, I diminish running backs a tiny bit. Ryan Miller, he was probably up there, but I think how often Dominic Hasek just like, and I know everybody says Martin Brodeur and all that kind of stuff. He had some competition, but the things Dominic Hasek was doing can't be matched. And he was doing it here in Buffalo in the black and red. So I think Dominic Hasek, to me, are in the fourth spot on the Mount Rushmore. Maybe that's because of my love for the Sabres. I get it. But yeah, that would be my four is Perreault, Smith, Tavares, and Hasek.
Yeah, I think it's also the position.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
being a goalie is obviously massive. We've talked about it a million times for the NLL. You saw it this year, sadly, with the Sabres. I mean, they had great goaltending throughout the season, but then it fizzled when they needed it most. And I think if you had a true top five goalie in there, the Sabres might still be in the playoffs. I don't know about getting past Carolina, but I think they would have gotten past Montreal if they had consistent goaltending, and they just did not get it. John Tavares is, like you said, easily one of, if not the best of all time. It's going to be interesting with Dane. Like, as far as like a Mount Rushmore goes, like Dane might be able to pass Johnny in points and everything like that. And he's got the dynasty, the three-peat and everything, but everything he's doing, Johnny is coaching. So
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
pretty
That's true.
it's tough to I mean, not to take anything away from Dane, but like, oh, look at this great playing career I had. Like, I beat all your records. But like, okay, well, I coached you during all that, and I have all of those coaching awards
Yeah,
as
I
well.
coached
So,
or
like,
played with you during all that time.
dang it.
You have never
Like,
been apart from me.
right. So that's a little tricky for Dane to separate. Josh, I feel like, especially given his position, we could see him separate. He's already getting up there in stats galore.
Yeah, sorry, all the older generation. I have Josh Allen above Jim Kelly right now. Sorry. Like, to me, he's passed him. He might not have passed him for all the records yet, but at this moment, and I know he hasn't been to a Super Bowl, I get that, but it hasn't always been his fault. I would have Josh Allen, just pure talent,
Yeah.
above Jim Kelly right now. But we'll move on to the next one, and I really like this question.
Real quick
And
before we move on from that
yeah.
one, just a fun thing when I was going through the stats. UPL is already ninth all time in Buffalo Sabres for games played. That is wild.
Yeah. You don't think he's been here this long, but he has. He's stuck around for a very
It's
long
almost
time.
at game 200.
It's insane. We'll move on here. If you could pick, and this is also probably going to be another topic as we get later into the summer here, but I like the question to start. If you could add one NLL award, what would it be? And I'll preface this by saying, I know transition player has been a hot topic, especially this year. I mean, what is a transition type of player? I know it's been a hot button issue. But to me, that's more changing one than adding one, because to me, how you change it would be, and how like Pat Graywire and Michael Carvalho and a bunch of other people have said, add a offensive defender of the year and a defensive defender of the year. So that way you still have that type of transition player, but eliminates the gray area of a guy just playing full-time forward all the time, and it's taking a transition type of player away. So that to me is changing it, not adding it. So I got two. I kind of cheated a bit. I'm going to go with comeback player of the year, and I'll top by just adding one, and I'll pick this year's winner, which I would pick Mark Matthews. Like, the injury that he suffered last year, and even listening to Jamie Dowick, he kind of went into the season injured last year. And I think he even said he injured it in that playoff series versus Rochester, I think it was, before the Buffalo series, where we were talking about he pulled a disappearing act, and it was because he already hurt his shoulder. I think Toronto obviously is not the same team when he's not on the floor. The comeback that he did and the performance that he put on with the rookies in the lineup helped them get to the title game and win it. So I would hand the comeback player of the year to Mark Matthews. And then my other idea was most improved player, but I would change that a bit, because to me it's a little bit insulting. And I know we have most improved player of the year for our BSC, but we're allowed to be insulting. The NLL doesn't really want to be insulting, so you would have to rename it to something else than just most improved, because it would kind of say like, yeah, you suck last year. But this year's winner, Warren Hill. Like, he impressed me from the get-go, letting in 2 goals against, who was it against? Halifax was facing, why am I blanking on who he faced? Phil's on it. But just like, it wasn't just the high of high. Yeah, that was his peak. Oshawa, thank you. I don't know why I missed it. It was Oshawa. Yeah, they scored like early on, and then he pretty much held them scoreless the rest of the time. It wasn't just like that was his peak, but it wasn't like he tailed off after that. All his numbers were fantastic, and he was a major reason they made it to the finals. So my 2 awards, my number 1 would be comeback player of the year. I think they need to add that one. And then the second one would be most improved player, but change the title so it's not as insulting.
Yeah, mine is something, I don't know, that we've talked a lot about on this show kind of separately, but mine is, I don't know what to call it, but supporting cast or best supporting cast. Basically a player who is not a focal point necessarily on his team, but is still very important to that team's success. I said think possibly backup goalie was where my first thought went, but depends on how integral they are. But like a Takoka, Nanakoke, or a Zach Belter, or the players who don't, the stats don't
I
pop
mean, I
off the
have the name
page.
for it. We came up with it. Undisputed sleeper.
Right. Like that, yeah, exactly. That style of player, like their stats aren't really there, but they're doing all the dirty work to get people open, to do everything necessary to help their team win, and is doing a really good job helping that team win. And without that player, maybe the team isn't nearly as good as they might be. So I think that's something that we talk about a lot on the show with Nanakoke, with the Belter, with some of these other players similar. But across the league, there's plenty of those players or that style of player per team that they might not necessarily have the flashiest stats or do all the great things that show up on the stat page, but without that player holding that team together or doing all the dirty work, like the water bug of Buchanan or um, Clay Scanlon, like those kind of players, like without them on the team might not be nearly as good as if they were on the team. So I think that'd be a really good award.
Yeah, I think they have something along the lines like teammate of the year, but I think that's a bit different because that's
Yeah.
more like in the room type of thing.
Yep.
That, again, I don't know why media votes for that one. That one's still kind of silly for me because they're not in the room. But yeah, I agree. It's like a separate one where it's also the performance on the field and all the nitty gritty stuff that they
Yeah. It's
do
not
as well.
just like you're a good teammate or a locker room
Exactly.
guy, but actually like doing stuff on the field that doesn't show up, but if just watching the game, you're okay,
Yeah.
without that player, they wouldn't be where they are.
Yeah. Last question here for the Ask the BSC segment. Who is your realistic? And this one is a brain thinker. I had to do a lot more research on this than I did the other ones. Who is your most realistic top candidate to replace Matt Vince? And I know it said top candidate, but I said candidates. I have four, and they're in this order. I got Riley Hutchcraft. He's got 1 year left in Rochester, so that would be a trade scenario. You would have to go get them, but I think Rochester's going to have a shakeup in between the pipes because they need to. It's either going to be Hartley or Hutchcraft out the door, and
Would you take Hartley if he's the one out the door?
I think so because I think coming into the Buffalo system to have a Cosmo, and Vince already said he's going to have a spot behind the bench as well. Maybe not behind the bench, but in the organization, I should say. Being coached by Matt Vince and being coached by Steve Dietrich on the bench and Anthony Cosmo, and you have a better defense in front of you. I think it could settle him down, but I think that Rochester values him more. So I feel like Hutchcraft would be the easier get and the less expensive because he's also a bit older. Not a bit older. He's a little bit older than Hartley. So that's my number one option. My number two option is Warren Hill. He's a UFA. I could see because of the season he had and the season that Halifax had that he would go back to Halifax. But if he wants a change position, like environment, maybe Buffalo comes a calling because he is the most realistic to go get
Yeah.
because it's just a contract. Next one is Landon Kells. He's an RFA out in the desert, and they have to change something up there as well. I'm not the biggest fan of this idea, but it is a realistic option to bring him in to kind of be that. That is one of those ones that, like I mentioned a couple episodes ago, an Alex Bouquet type of player, a Steve Orleman type of player, just to bridge that gap
Yeah.
until Shagnosh is ready. That to me is that type of player. Right? It gets you 2 or 3 years where you might not be the top of the leaderboard, but you're waiting on your goalie of the future to cook. And then the last one is obvious. It's Nick Damoud. Philly has a 2 goalie head monster out there. Deacon Knott. He's playing for Peterborough right now, I believe, up in the MSL. I think his time's there. And depending on what happens in Philly, where they relocate or whatever else is happening there, maybe Nick Damoud does come available with new leadership. So I do think that as much as we talk him up about possibly moving, I think it's a realistic option for Buffalo to go get him. He's got 1 year left, so another one would have to be a trade.
Yeah, I think two of those are rebuilds, in my opinion, with
Yes,
Hutchcraft and Kels. I don't think you're, no offense to either of them. They can have good games, they can steal you games, but I
yep,
don't think you're really going for it. Hill and Damoud, I think you're right back in it, and you're right back looking at
agreed.
playoffs. Um, the only other name really I had out there was Holochuk, just because he's pretty close and he's gotten some starts for Toronto. But he's kind of along the lines of a Hutchcraft, very similar.
I
Again,
just think they like him so much. Matt
yeah,
Sawyer
they
loves
do.
him
That's
for
very
some
true.
reason.
Very true.
He was on my list though. He was somebody I was looking at.
And then I don't think this one would ever be possible, but Jameson is another one that's kind of just
I thought of him
been
too.
talked up a little bit. Mainly, I mean, I know the end of the season was a little bit rough with him, but he's currently playing on Six Nations with all those guys, and I
He's
know
only got
he's
1 year left before he's an UFA as well.
right. So the big question to me with you and with these guys is the price tag. So
Yeah.
I think you and I both agree that Buffalo needs to inject some high talented young players into the offense, maybe a little bit on the defense. Would you be willing to give up a first, multiple firsts to get a goalie like a Damoud or a Jameson if that's what it took? Or would you prefer to rebuild and get the team itself more help and the forwards and get some young youth in there with the how these drafts are supposed to be? Like, would you be willing to give up those high value picks that Buffalo really hasn't had much of since they've been championship every single year, or would you rather take the goalie?
It's tough. I know I've always been in the opinion you go get the known talent because I understand the NLL and to a different extent like the NHL, the really early picks, they usually pan out. It's hard to miss on like a top 5 pick. I get that. And I understand how deep the 2026 and 2027 drafts are for the NLL. I get that. I'm not even a scout or analyze the drafts. I don't do that kind of stuff. I rely on the people that know how to do it, and then I just read their stuff and come up with my own conclusions and my own opinions on it. So I understand how good they are. I always like the known piece rather than the lottery ticket, I guess I would call it, of a draft pick. But while saying that, I in any other draft but these next two, I would be all on board
Yep.
with shipping out a first round pick to go get an established goalie because you need an established goalie to win across this league. But because they just spent their first round pick last year in Shoganosh, and of all the talk, he's supposed to be this next wonder kid in net, I think I keep my picks and I try to talk either Oshawa or Philly into taking my 2028 first round pick. Like I don't think I can give up a first round pick in the next two drafts. It's just too important for the framework of this offense that needs to get quicker, that needs to be a bit younger. And again, I get if they hadn't drafted Shoganosh last year, I would be all on board with
Right.
this that you
Right.
need a goalie. But because they have what they believe is the goalie of the future in their pipeline, I don't think that you can jeopardize giving up future assets when, again, I love the trade that you already shipped out Lucas Nielsen, who was a first round pick, that you don't really have any young
Right.
studs out the front door in the organization right now. So I would keep my first and see if I can get one of those guys for 2028. But if I'm Oshawa or Philly, why would you want to do that? Because Buffalo's probably right back in 2028, and it's a pick in the teens.
The other thing
I wouldn't do it.
is, I mean, look at all the people you kind of just mentioned. You have Hutchcraft 1 year left, Damoud
Right.
1 year left, Jameson 1 year left. Like, if all those guys just hold on and go to
Yep.
free agency, then
You got a
maybe
shot.
this is the year that Buffalo just takes a seat, rebuilds, brings in somebody to just kind
Like
of
a
go in
Landon
there.
Kells on a 1 year deal. Yep.
Right. And then goes after some of these bigger goalies
Yep.
that'll be out there 1 year later. And then you have your offense rebuilt with some youth and then go for it after that. And then maybe even, again, another pick in 27 if they don't have a great season next year, another high pick, get, offense, defense, more youth, and then go out and get one of these goalies that's no longer available and just a UFA.
Yeah, I'm going to nip this in the butt real quick.
Okay.
I know Christian Del Bianco is a free agent. He's not a free agent in my mind, so shut up. He ain't coming to Buffalo. He's a lifer in Vancouver now. So don't even say, oh, you can go sign CDB. It's not going to happen. Shut up. We'll move on here. Way too early 2026-27 standings. And this was your idea. And this was very tough for me because we're basing it on all 14 teams will be in the league. They might not be in their current locations. They might not be under their current ownership, but we're basing this on that 14 teams will be there next year. There will not be a dispersal draft, and we're basing it on what we think they'll probably do in the offseason. So we'll start with 14. Who's your 14th team right now?
The Wings.
I have the Wings as well. I like them more going into this offseason than I did the start of last year. I think what they were able to bring in, the pieces that they have, in an early draft pick, as long as they stay in the Philly area, probably getting a Spalina. I pairing him with O'Neill and pairing him with Nielsen.
I think they're on the way up for sure.
Yes, and even with Deacon Knott or Damoud, whichever one they go with, I think they have the right building blocks. I think they're just a year or two away from being really good. And this might be a good spot because I've said this about Firewolves and I said this about multiple others to Georgia. This is the spot you want to be in. Number 13, who you got?
I got the Black Bears.
Okay. I got the Black Bears in my number 12 spot. So if you want to talk about the Black Bears really quick.
I don't like the Black Bears.
That's fair. And with the Jeff Teat injury, is he going to be back for the NLL season? Higgins is a year older. Hellier's a year older. It's...
We've bet on them so many times to be just a better team, and they have yet to establish anything. Like you said, that Teat injury is just so detrimental to that team. I don't know. I just don't see a lot of hope for them right now, which is not good for their organization with everything going on.
Yeah, I have them in my 12th spot, so it's not like I think any differently than you. My 13th team, Rochester. And it comes down to their back end. It comes down to, I don't know who their coaching staff's going to be, and it comes down to who's between the pipes. And if they had any competent goaltending last year that was consistent, I think they're a playoff team. But they don't. I don't know who they're going to get because between Buffalo and Rochester right now, who's a more attractive team that are either a free agent wants to go to or who has more pieces. I understand Rochester probably has more pieces that are more attractive in the trade department. So I think that leans their edge. I could see Doug Jamieson going to Rochester. And if that happens, they're going to shoot up my rankings. But right now I got Rochester in my 13th seed just because I don't know what they're going to do in net right now. And I stupidly, maybe I'm saying this, I wouldn't be shocked if that tandem comes back, which it shouldn't be the case, but you never know.
Yeah, I think I just believe that they'll get something done in that in the offseason. I think they have to. I think the organization knows they have to. They got new ownership. It didn't really work out this season, so I feel like they are already under the pressure of we need to do something to get this team fixed and fixed in a hurry. So I think they're going to do whatever they need to go out and figure out that goaltender situation.
That's fair. Phil's got him higher, apparently. We'll find out where very soon. Number 12, I had the Black Bears. Who do you got in your 12th spot?
This one is where one of the ones we're the most different on.
Okay.
I got the Seals.
Okay.
I don't know. They never do anything for me. They're there. They have good games and bad games, but I've never seen them as like a truly elite team. And I wish I could because they have some great players and some very, very talented players. And O'Rig, if he continues to grow, which we've been saying for years, but he's had monster games where nobody can get it past him. Then he has some rough games here and there. But if he continues to grow, he's still very young. I think the sky is the limit for this team, but I don't know. They just never really do it for me. I feel like it's just going to be like that again, but could they finish much, much higher? Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know. They're a very blah team for me.
Yeah, I'll talk about them in just a second. My 11th team, I got Oshawa, and it comes down to I think they need to make a leadership change behind the bench or in the front office. I don't think Glenn Clark, I think his message has kind of gotten stale, whether it's the GM role or behind the bench. And based on what it is now, June 1st, and we haven't heard any news, and their season's been done for months. I think he's coming back in both roles. I would be very shocked if he's not in both roles. And I understand his how people view him around the league is probably much higher than I view him in his current role right now. And I get that why other people might have a different opinion on he might be the guy in the their offense has just gotten stale. And we were talking about it a bit in the Discord. It the one guy in the one Discord mentioned it perfectly. There's too many guys just standing around waiting for the ball to come to their stick. They need to change it up. I think Ethan Walker's probably the guy that's easiest to move off that team. But then you also bring in a Dawson Theed. You have a Dyson Williams out there. You got the righty matchups with Simmons and Kurtz. It's gotten stale, and I think Jameson is probably on his last legs out in Oshawa. I think he's probably going to be looking towards a different team, whether it's at the trade deadline this year or next year in free agency. I would be very shocked if this team finishes higher than 11th just because I think the message has gotten stale, but I think it's going to be the same message going into next year.
So I forgot the Firewolves altogether. That's how I feel about...
What team did you double up?
No one. I just forgot the Firewolves.
Oh, you went down to 13.
Yeah. I didn't number mine is the problem, so I didn't see.
Did you have
yeah,
a dispersal draft that I did?
I did. Yeah, they're gone. Okay. Give me them at 12th, and the Seals will be above them in 11th. Because
okay, that's fair.
I agree with everything you said. I don't really like the Firewolves. It's just very strange. Like they have so much talent on that team, and yet they cannot seem to figure out how to make it work. And like you said, maybe it is one of those things that we talked about earlier, where a coach is trying to force a system that is not working for those players, rather than using those players to their advantage and working the system around them. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not working, and it seems like it will continue that way until there's some bigger changes.
My number 10 team, I got Vegas, and it's just about in net. We said it going into last season that this team is going to have to score 16, 17, 18 goals to win games, and that's pretty much what needed to happen. Chase Frazier will be back next year. You still have Mitch Jones. The offense is still loaded, and you saw what Adam Patra was able to do up there as well. Like the offense is not the problem. The back end was looking pretty good. It's between the pipes, and I get that they have the goalie of their future there in Caleb Kahn, but he's going to be 19 years old going into next season. He's not the guy ready, and they don't have anybody lined up. That's another team that's going to need, similar to Buffalo, that has their goalie of the future in the wings, but is not ready yet. So another team that's going to be looking for a goaltender, can they get one in the building? I liked bits and pieces of what Alex Bouquet did. I like bits and pieces what Landon Kells did, but again, it's an inconsistency between the pipes. So I think that's going to continue. I don't know what goalies they're going to be able to snag, especially go to Vegas. I understand Vegas is a very attractive spot, but also with the salary cap. Like, how much money do they have free to go out and get a big fire like goalie out in the net? So I got them in my 10th spot.
Yeah, I have them a bit higher.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting, but they were just so good. I know the goalie is absolutely an issue, and I think this might be the offseason of goaltenders because there's a lot of teams that are in the market, and there's not a very big market out there. So that'll be very interesting. But if they can figure it out, I think their offense was ridiculously good. They were able to cut it pretty close to playoffs, even without a goalie, and that was without Chase Frazier as well. So if they can figure out just a little bit better goaltending situation, I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but I could see them making playoffs based on their offense alone.
And Drew Belgrave, who is set to be a UFA, is back on the team as well. 9th spot, this is where I have San Diego. I know you have a bit later, and I was biting my tongue to say this. I probably should have them a bit lower because who knows what's going to happen with O'Rig with his firefighter duty. Is this the season where he has to be like Eli McLaughlin and isn't able to participate? If that's it, they're going to drop. Yep. I just think that because of what Joe Tsai does, this could be the offseason where San Diego spends some money because they didn't really do it last year. That was Vegas. I think it might be the Seals' time to spend some money. So I could see them being a bit active in a pretty deep free agency period here. They already have the goaltender. They have the backup in Dunkerley. If O'Rig does end up missing some time or misses a full year, you can go to Dunkerley, who played pretty well in his spotty
Okay.
time. So I got them in my ninth spot.
Uh, and I got the Nighthawks in 10.
Okay.
So we already discussed them, and then my nine. Or we're doing my nine then.
Yeah, who's in your nine?
My nine is the Buffalo Bandits.
Wow.
I know,
Okay.
I know. I've been very adamant this all
You
whole
have.
off season.
You've been very steady. I will give you credit for that.
I I just simply don't think they're gonna make playoffs. There's too many concerns with this team, and I have them in the nine for a reason. There's still plenty of talent on that team, and we've discussed their roster. There really aren't too many holes, but the offense still scares the heck out of me right now. I know Dane and Josh are incredible, and they have good pieces up there, but they weren't very good all season. It was one of their biggest weaknesses throughout the year, and now you're missing a 29 goal scorer in Kyle Buchanan, most likely retiring. So I don't know how they make up 30 goals, and to me, you need to make up that and then some, because even with him playing as well as he did, the offense still wasn't good enough. So I don't know. The offense really scares me, and then on top of that, you need a goaltender. So those two things are really scary. I mean, I think they had the season they did because Vince was as great as he was throughout the year, and they won a lot of really close games. And there were plenty of times you and I said they don't win this game without Vince playing out of his mind. You don't have that most likely anymore. And unless they find a way to fix the offense in a hurry where their goaltending takes a step back, but their offense takes that step forward where they can kind of counterbalance it. But to me, with the goaltending situation and the struggles on offense, I'm pretty concerned about them. Are they going to win a lot of games? Yes, they still have Dane and Josh. They still have plenty of talent. On the defensive end, like it's still a very good core that's there, but goaltending's huge, and we'll see what they do in the offseason with the offense, but they need to do something.
I'm gonna be considered a homer with my pick here. I won't. I
You
won't
are.
mention them
Normally,
yet.
you're the critical one.
My eighth spot. I got Calgary. I know there's been quite a few people that have been pretty strong about them being a fringe playoff team going into the season. I think with as long as they're able to entice Tyler Pace to come back, I love what the offense looks like. I think the defense, if they're able to go out and get a piece or two, and then in net with Aiden Walsh and Bowman now, I really like them. So I think they're going to be able to take that next step. I'm not calling them to be Georgia, but Georgia light, where they're going to be able to make some noise and sneak into the playoffs. And they were already a tough out for a lot of teams. You saw Colorado slip out of the number one seed because of Calgary, what they were able to do. So I got Calgary in my A spot right now, pending my thoughts of them doing something on the back end.
Yeah, my 8 and 7 are the Desert Dogs making playoffs, and then the Roughnecks I have at 7.
My seventh is where I got Buffalo slotted. And I still think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to be a top four team. I don't think they're going to be a favorite across many departments unless they go out and get that stud goalie. But having Dane and Josh, I can't see a world where they don't make playoffs. And I get they were 4-6 and pretty much a game away from blowing it up in February of last year. I understand all that. But I think I again, this is where it's probably going to sound like a homer. I can't see a world where a team coached by John Tavares, GM'd by Steve Dietrich, has Dane Smith, has Josh Byrne, has Ian McKay, has all those pieces and some useful role players on this team as well. And Steve Perillo coming back, and Nick Weiss, as long as he resigns, which I think he's going to. There's too much talent on that team to not make playoffs. And I understand the whole Mad Vince segment. I agreed with everything you said, and I was clenching my butt cheeks as you were saying it because I'm scared. But I still have them finishing the 7th seed. I think they can go up if they lock down a Warren Hill or a Nick Damoud. I think they could be right back up into the top 4. But if it's just like a bridge type of goalie like a Landon Kells or an Alex Bouquet or somebody like that, I could see them anywhere between 7 and 10, to be honest.
What do you No, we'll talk about it more in the offseason.
That works. That works.
We got
Who?
plenty of time.
Top six now. I got my number six team is Halifax, and Randy Stotts will be coming back, and you have a full season of Cam Wilson up there. You'll have a full season of Will McLeod up there. You'll have as if Warren Hill comes back, and then as long as you're able to get Graham Hossick back, they have a lot of question marks, but I think the question marks will be filled pretty quickly because this team has been known to sign a lot of their UFAs before free agency opens. And depending on how this all works out, they could be signing a bunch of free agents real quick, and we won't know about UFAs for a while. But I think Halifax is going to be a top six team. I will not be fooled again based on them missing play. I had them missing playoffs this year, I believe, or last year.
Yeah, they are my sixth team as well.
There we go. We finally got one.
We did. For everything you said, I think they're a team, like you said, they've always been pretty good. This year they were down, but then found a way to work themselves back and then made it all the way to the finals. I think with them being healthy, if they can return everybody, they'll be right back in the thick of things.
So I think we have the same top six here. Who is your 5 seed?
We don't have the same top six, but I do have the Georgia Swarm in my 5 seed.
Well, I mean, we have the same top
Now,
six, just in different orders.
I got you. Yes, we do. Yeah, Georgia, you got Brett Dobson. That's all you need in life. Their offense showed signs of being better, and there were signs of them working through toward the end of the season. The offense just continuing to improve. So I think if they can continue that trajectory, the defense looks solid. Dobson looked great. So it's really coming down to the offense, like it seems to every year with them. But I think they showed a lot of signs of life toward the end of the year of what the offense can do. That just needs to find a little bit more consistency. But I think they are turning into a very well-rounded team.
The only thing is Lyle. And
Yes,
I do
100%.
think that they did enough to
I think so.
have him come back. I think he's hungry to do more in Georgia. So I do think Lyle comes back. The only downside is Michael Grace is probably not going to be there for the full season. So you're going to have to replace his production on the back end. Number 4, I got Colorado. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Ryan Lee. And if he's able to make another comeback, they'll have Eli McLaughlin back because he already signed a 3-year deal. He's not going to free agency. He's going to be back. They activated him off the holdout and onto the active roster this offseason. So Eli McLaughlin comes back. You have Jack Hanna. You have Andrew Q. You're probably going to get Ryan Lee back. You got Dylan McIntosh out there. Brandon Saris. They have pieces on this offense. I think they're one more defender away from being a true full-on me believing that they're a cup contender. I have them in my 4 spot.
Yeah, they are in my 3 spot.
Okay.
Sorry. Nope, that was a lie. They're in my 2 spot. I got them way
Okay.
up.
Even better.
I trust that offense just so much, like you already said, with everything. If Ryan Lee does come back, you got Saris, who was a rookie and had a fantastic rookie season. He'll have another year under his belt. I just think what they have on offense is horrifying to other teams. And then you got Dylan Ward on the back end. Like you said, their defense could use a little help for sure, but Ward is still a very, 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 very good goalie. And if it weren't for Dobson having the ridiculous year he did, Ward would have been talked about a lot more as being one of the best goalies out there. So I think they can jump all the way up to 2 and kind of finish back where they were this year.
So who's your number 4 seed?
My number 4 is the Saskatchewan Rush.
Okay.
They're just going to run it back again. It's the same team that's going to be the last few years. I think they looked a little bit shakier this season, especially at the end. I know they started ridiculously hot and everyone thought they were going to be the bee's knees, but they kind of collapsed at the end of the season. And I think they showed that maybe they do need something else on that team, despite the ridiculous amount of all-stars that they do have. I think the offense could be a little bit better. The defense has plenty going for it. Frank's fine, but I think they need to do something this offseason, change it up just a little bit. They don't need much. Not even going to call it a retool or anything. Just add literally probably one piece to maybe push them over the edge. But I think with the way they faltered a little bit toward the end of the season, especially at home where they're supposed to be unbeatable, I think it should throw some red flags up to them, and that they gotta do something to get back to where they were before.
Yeah, they're my number 2 seed because I do think that they're going to run it back, but I think now's the time. Like Frank is going to be 34. You got Robert Church as a UFA who's 35. You got Ryan Keenan as a UFA, he's 32. Mike Messenger's 32. Austin Shanks 32. All of them are UFAs. I believe they all come back to Saskatchewan, but I think it's under a 1 or 2 year deal.
Yeah.
Like I don't see any of them signing long term, and kind of being like, I love Saskatchewan, but we got to get it done. Like we got to win now because they're kind of like Buffalo to an extent where all their big time pieces are on the wrong side of 30 now.
Yep.
Time's ticking. Like it's there, but it's ticking. My number 3 spot, I got the Rock. And do you have the Rock? Oh, okay. So you got the Warriors in your number 3 spot. Okay, I got the Rock here. I think they did enough for me to full on believe. And I had them in my 8th spot to go into last season because I saw what was being built there. I just didn't see them freaking going on a rocket ship and shooting to the, championship. But adding a Ty English and the second year of Curse and the second year of Hiltz and the second year of the other English and getting Rose finally that monkey off his back, I think they're going to be all healthy next year. Like TD Erlen's coming back. Mark Matthews is a year off the shoulder injury. You get Mazuka back. Like all those pieces that they were missing are going to be back next year. Justin Martin as well. I think this team is. They're going to be a very tough. I might have them too low at number 3, to be honest with you. I do have them at my number 3 spot.
Like how you're talking yourself out of them in the
Yeah.
number 3 spot as you hype them up. Yeah, they are my number 1
Yeah.
heading into the year. They just won the championship, so that helps. But everything else you just said, like all the rookies taking another year, another step, like everything just kind of gelling. Nick Rose looking like Nick Rose of old.
Phil and I
and
have
like,
switched roles here. He's the Toronto fan. I'm the Buffalo fan now, apparently.
which is disgusting. But
You're wearing the blue. You're wearing the blue.
But yeah, they're really good. They're going to be really scary for years and years and years and years to come. But I think this was kind of their coming out party. I mean, obviously they won the championship. I get that, but you can win the championship and fall back down to earth the next season. I don't see that with the Rock. I think they're going to continue on a trajectory up. I don't necessarily know if they're going to win it all next year. They might be my early favorite pick. I think they just kind of have everything you could possibly want in a team. You got your goalie, you got your defense, you got a good mix of veteran and youth on the offense. So they literally have just the formula to win and keep winning. But yeah, they are my number 1 headed into the season.
Yeah, our number 1 and 3 are switched, and our 2 and 4 are switched. My number 1 is the Warriors. I believe they're going to pretty much run it back as well. I know they have a ton of UFAs. They got Keegan Ball as a UFA, Matt Beers, Charbonneau. They got Cornwall, Dixon, Christian Elbianco, Dilks, Mitski, Shane Simpson. They got a ton of UFAs. But, I mean, really, they only have 5 guys under contract right now. But Kurt knows what he's doing. I think he's going to add another piece or two to get a little younger, a little faster. I really think that they had a bad half versus Halifax. Otherwise, I think this team could be sitting there in the finals versus Toronto, and one heck of a matchup there. But I do think that they have the right recipe. I don't think that I would pick them to win it all, but I think they're not my number 1 team going into next year. I know they're your number 3, though.
Yeah, their offense is just it's stagnant at times. I think their defense and CDB are obviously elite and can win them very low scoring games, but I just wish their offense was a little bit better. Keegan Ball did amazing and just won a bunch of awards. So I'm not saying they have a terrible offense by any means. They have plenty of talent on it, but there are games that offense just disappears. And for as good of a team as they are, for as good as their defense and goaltending is, I wish the offense was a little bit more lethal and not just consistently okay. I think they sit around the 10, 11 goals, 9 goals. You don't really see them explode too often. They're just steadily chipping away and then let their goaltending and defense hold teams to 5, 6, 7, which really helps. But I wish that offense was just a little bit more lethal than it currently is.
So that is our way too early rankings for the NLL season, assuming all 14 teams are back next year. And we're 55 minutes in, and we're on to the cream of the crop here, our 5th annual BSC Sabres Award Show. It's the most coveted awards in sports and entertainment history. Every player cries when they do not win this. So we will start with the BSC MVP for the Buffalo Sabres this year. Our nominees were Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin, Alex Tuck, Alex Lyon, Josh Doan, Zach Benson, Matthias Samuelsson, and Bo Byram. Last year's winner was Tage Thompson. If you're on YouTube, hopefully the graphics worked this week. We worked on them beforehand. They should work. So, the winner this year, and because we don't have the drum roll, sorry, the winner this year's BSC MVP, Rasmus Dahlin. I think this... I don't want to say it's clear and obvious, but you saw the difference when he was not in the lineup, when he had to go take care of a lot of things personally, which everybody knows the story back in Sweden. So just the mental fortitude that he had to play through, going through what he had to this summer with his wife, or fiance, I believe it is. It's just insane, the type of season he had, and the Buffalo Sabres are not, in my opinion, a playoff team if Rasmus Dahlin is not on here. And I think, with putting on my tinfoil hat here, if Kevin Adams is not fired, and I know this was a hot button topic and somebody was going back and forth with this on X all last week, if Kevin Adams was not fired, I don't think Buffalo goes on the run that they do. And on top of that, come January and February, if Buffalo's still sitting outside of the playoffs, Rasmus Dahlin's asking for out. Like, I think there was enough smoke there last year between the reporting from Spit and Chicklets. I think Rasmus Dahlin wanted out, and you need to make a big move like that to keep your captain here and keep him happy. And if he's not on this team, they're not a playoff team. Rasmus Dahlin is one of the best defenders in the world, and he is the BSC MVP for the Buffalo Sabres season this year.
Yeah, I think you just, like you said, not only without him in the lineup, but early in the season when his mind simply wasn't there for very obvious reasons, you could tell he wasn't playing like the Rasmus Dahlin we're used to seeing, and he was just playing a little bit off. And during those games, the team didn't look good, and they didn't look nearly as good as when he started to really turn it on and got his focus back and was able to dial in what he was able to do on the ice. And once he started to turn it back up, you saw the entire team turn it back up around him. So I think the team goes where he goes. And like you said, he was struggling mentally early on in the season. The team was struggling as well. And as soon as he was able to kind of get his mind right, I think you saw the difference in the entire team. So he is well-deserved as the MVP this year.
Well, Rasmus, your award is in the mail. Make sure you're waiting at your mailbox, because it'll be there. It'll be there shortly.
We don't use priority shipping. So
we do not. We don't have that kind of money.
Wait a lot.
If you want to send us some money, we'll get it to you overnight. Next award, Mr. D. It is for the top defenseman of the year. This year's nominees, Rasmus Dahlin, Matthias Samuelsson, Bo Byram, and Owen Power. Last year's award winner. And every award winner since we've been doing this was Rasmus Dahlin. This year's award winner goes to Matthias Samuelsson. I think he has come such a long way from me wanting him out for a bag of pucks. I will give full credit to Kevin Adams. He did not give up to peer pressure and listen to the public, including me, on wanting to buy him out. Just get him off this team, get him out of here. My final straw was the Tage Thompson hit, and he did nothing last year. He is going to be on Team USA next time they're in the Olympics. He's that good of a defender. This team, he not only took his game to another level, but you saw the offensive ability that he had as well. How many big-time goals did he score in the playoffs? How many big-time goals did he score in the regular season? Like, who would have thought this would be an offensive producer on the back end along with the defense? Like, he runs into somebody and they fall over. Whe's that good of a defender, and he's that big, and you don't even notice it. So I think it's well-deserved coming from where he did, because you were like, if you put him on the third pairing, he plays 12 minutes a night, and you feel better than him him down there. Now you have one of the best top four in the lineup, and he's playing top line minutes, especially on the penalty kill as well. I think if there was a season or a player to dethrone Rasmus Dahlin's run here, I think this is the perfect recipe for it, and it's well deserved.
Yeah, he went from a career high of 14 points all the way up to 41, which is
Remember when
just
Jeff Skinner had him on
ridiculous.
between the stalls and like, why do you have a goal song? No, why? You never score. And he does that.
Yep, he had his highest ice time average throughout the season, and he also had by far the highest plus minus on the team at 41 as well. 41 points plus minus of 41. It all adds up, but he had a monster season, and I know we said Dahlin was the MVP, but I don't think, again, this team is where it is if Samuelsson doesn't figure out whatever was happening the year before, whether it was injuries, whatever it was. The turnaround he had this season and playing as well as he did really helped solidify that back end and kind of stop the question marks of the top four, and also obviously help their goaltending out a lot as well.
So, Matthias, your award is in the mail. Gretzky Light. It is for the top forward. Last year, the award winner was Alex Tuch, and it was the first year of this award because we were dumb and it took us 4 years to add this one. This year's nominees: Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, Josh Doan, Jack Quinn, and Ryan McLeod. This year goes to Tage Thompson. I think it's clear and obvious that he was their best forward during the regular season. He picked it up first round of the playoffs, even though, the goals weren't there to start. He picked it up towards the tail end of the Montreal series. When he's on, and I know I give him a ton of slack, and he's my prime example of the player that you see actually change his type of game when the GM is fired. And that's part of my saying, like, this team doesn't make the playoffs if Kevin Adams remains the GM. He's the prime example of it, because you see his play in October and November and the effort that he's putting in, regardless of the stats he's putting up. And then you see what he does in January, February, and March, and his actual play on the ice where his feet are constantly moving. That's the difference there. And I know I keep harping on the Kevin Adams aspect of it, but Tage Thompson, to me, he was their best forward the entire season. And I know he went to sleep a bit in the playoffs. I get that. But he's another player that if he's not on this team performing what he does, they're not a playoff team.
Yeah, the last 2 seasons we were worried about him. He went from 94 points to 56 to 72. Yep. It's still nowhere near what he was. And I think this last season you finally got him back to what you were expecting out of him, which was a very even player. But I think he just, like you said, was able to take over during the season and become that true forward that this team needed. Kind of stinks that he disappeared in the biggest moment when you needed him the most, especially on that toe drag that he had that could have just sent him out of the next round. But overall, still, I think by far their best forward, especially with where Tuch ended up in the play. I mean, you look at, I know we harp on Thompson a lot, but you look at Tuch and McLeod, both year 2 and 3 forwards, and they vanished that much more than Thompson did. And I think that's another reason in general that the Sabres aren't carried on, is that your top 3 forwards kind of all vanished in that Montreal series.
So, Tage, your award is in the mail. Go to your mailbox right now. It might be there. Bounce Ball. This is the bounce back player of the season. And this, to me, has been the toughest one. Last year's award winner was Tage Thompson. He went home with 2 awards last year. This year's nominees, and this one, to me, was the hardest one to talk back and forth. Matthias Samuelsson, Jack Quinn, and UPL. This year, the award goes to, here it is, UPL. And I will say this, if Matthias didn't win the top defender, he was winning this award. I was finding a way to get Matthias Samuelsson the award, but UPL's performance on the ice, playing his best hockey during the regular season, was phenomenal. And it felt like going into the playoffs, okay, this is your 1A goaltender, what he was able to do down the stretch when Alex Lyon got hurt, and he was carrying the bulk of the weight. Yep. And I know some of the last memories that you're going to have of him were the goal that goes in from center ice or the weak goal that goes in overtime in game 7. I get that. But when you look past that and you look at the whole collection of what he did during the season, this was a massive bounce back. See, I wanted him out the door as well. Like, pair Matthias Samuelsson to UPL last year for 2 used pucks, and I would have accepted that deal in a heartbeat. But I think he's a big question mark going into this offseason of, do they bring back the same 3 goaltenders, or do you use the hot season that he had to get out of the contract, go to Alex Lyon and Colton Ellis and maybe a different goaltender altogether? Is his value higher than he actually is worth? Can you get something else for him because of the season that he had this year?
Yeah, personally, I'd like to see him moved on from.
Yes, I agree.
I think a lot of the season, as well as he did, and I don't want to talk bad because he's getting an award. But I think a lot of it was because he was sheltered by Lyon and he didn't play nearly as much as he has in the previous seasons, where he wasn't relied upon quite as much.
And the defense in front of him as well.
Yes, I know 2 years ago he had very similar stats with playing 54 games compared to 35. So that season did look great. But then last year, he did terrible in the same sample size of 55 games. And this year, when he was sheltered, he got those numbers back. So to me, I think he's somewhere in between the really bad season and this season, but I don't think that's going to be good enough moving forward. So I hope they try to get out from him. But nonetheless, he's a monster reason that the Sabres were able to make it back to the playoffs and that drought. So still a really good bounce back season. And hopefully for the Sabres, in my opinion, it bounced him back to a new team.
So, UPL, your award is being shipped overseas to your home, and it'll be in the mail very shortly. Probably a few weeks, because
it's going to take a long time.
It's an expensive
we use
one, man.
Carrier pigeons, so.
You better put that on your mantle somewhere. Next one, you got it, kid. This one goes to the top rookie or the top newcomer for this team. Last year's award winner was Yuri Kulik. This year's nominees: Josh Doan, Noah Ostlund. We got Connor Timmins, Sam Carrick, Zach Metza, Logan Stanley, Kostas Hellenius, and Michael Kesselring. The award this year goes to Josh Doan, and to me, this was the easiest one I voted for. There were comments about him being a fan favorite going into the season, and I was like, okay, but like, he was the second piece in that deal with JJ Peterka. This was another, and again, I've been giving credit nonstop to Kevin Adams about like the deals he made. It's just he wasn't inspiring in the locker room. But this was a deal where he was a piece that he was not accepting this deal unless Josh Doan was added to it. Michael Kesselring was the main piece, and he was supposed to be the partner for Owen Power. Josh Doan was the piece that you were hoping was going to be a third line winger that could contribute 30 points. He comes in and is like, one of the biggest goals of the playoffs was him hustling into the corner versus the Boston series that was able to scoop it out to Zach Benson, who put it home. That's the type of player that he is. Him and Zach Benson were carrying the lines over and over and over again. They were the big reason why they were involved in the Montreal series at all. And I think him winning this award shows that he's here for a long time. Jarmo got him locked up to a deal perfect time because he should be like a $10 million player. But I think he's well deserving of this honor of being a BSC first time award winner.
Yeah, he skyrocketed himself, his career, everything. The contract he just got doesn't happen if he doesn't have the season he does. And he ended up having a very similar season to JJ, but I think that kind of shows what Adams was able to do. You got a similar, to me, possibly better player and a better fit for Buffalo, for sure.
Point producer, he's similar, but all the other intangibles he does is stuff that JJ never did.
Correct. So I think overall you got the better player, plus you got Kesselring on top of it. So I think what Adams did was great, but even just what Doan was able to do, especially in the playoffs when him and Benson just did amazing, and everybody, like you said, he's already a fan favorite. He got locked up. Like, everything about what Doan was able to bring to this team, that energy, that speed, just the hustle, the selflessness, like, he's just a great core player to have on this roster.
Yeah, now lock up Zach Benson. But Josh Doan, your award is in the mail. Don't worry, we're not mailing it to your dad. Next one, crease captain, top goalie of the year, last year's award winner,
These are
James
gross.
Reimer. This
These
award has
are
been really
gross.
ugly and so bad.
Disgusting.
So bad in the past. This year's nominees, UPL, Alex Lyon, and Colton Ellis. This year's award winner is Alex Lyon. And I think it's based on what we were expecting from him. He far and exceeded that.
Yep.
I mean, this was what, the 19th time in the history of the NHL that you had two goalies on the same team over 20 or more wins. He stabilized the position. He was a massive reason why they won the Boston series. He kept them in it. Yes, the last memory that you're going to have of him is letting in 3 of 4 shots in the Montreal game, even though they came back and won that one. I think he's probably back next year because the contract's too juicy not to give it up.
Yeah.
But I do think that between the 3 goaltenders, he definitely earned the right, to me, to be the BSC top goalie of the year for the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's all about expectations with him. I think you expected him to be a pretty solid B, not even a 1A, 1B, just a 2 more than anything, like a true 2 that would rotate in when he could and give UPL a break here and there. I don't think you expected him to actually play more games than UPL and succeed the way he did. I know it was a very weird tandem system they had going this year, but that doesn't work unless Lyon's playing the way he does. And I don't know if UPL has the season he does unless Lyon's playing the way he does and gives UPL the rest that he got. So I think without Lyon, I don't think UPL has, it just is what he is this season. So I think it just leans a little bit more toward what Lyon was able to do and what he meant as a goalie to this team.
Mr. Lion King, we will not send your award to the Safari. It will be in your mail at some point whenever we ship it out. Last award. Give me more, give me more. It is, we need more next year or want back. Last year's award winner was UPL, and I think he did that. The year before that was a team. I think he did that. Jordan Greenway, I think kind of got that, and then Middlestad, he shipped out the door. This year's nominees are Josh Norris, Matthias Samuelsson, Noah Ostlund, Yuri Kulik, Kostas Helenius, and Jason Zucker. This year's award winner goes to Josh Norris. And this, to me, was the only one that we disagreed on. And I think we both came to the conclusion of, with his contract, he's not going anywhere. He's going to remain here in Buffalo. And I think you were harder on him than I was, even though I was not giving him a pass in the playoffs. I think as the playoffs went on and he got over whatever was nagging him after that first Boston game, he showed what he was capable of, at least on the defensive end. While he wasn't producing as much on the offensive end when he was with Zach Benson and Josh Doan, I look at more as he was allowing them to do what they were doing because he was able to back check on the back end and let them bust their butts to get back on defense. He was always sound on the defensive end that allowed those two young guns to do what they do on the front end. I need more from him. Like that's why he's winning this one. His contract says he needs to produce more. I thought in the regular season when he was on the ice, he was producing very well. But you need him on the ice, and you need him producing to a top 6 type of centerman that you weren't getting in the playoffs and you weren't getting full-time last year. So if he's on the ice, I feel better about it, but that's half the battle. Like, he needs to be able to stay on the ice. So that's why I need more from him.
Yeah, the most amount of time he's ever spent in the NHL in a season, 66 games.
Not enough.
No, he needs to be a full-time forward. He just cannot. I understand these kind of players are like this. They're injury prone for a reason. They have that tag, but figure it out. You got to find a way to play closer to 80 games, even if they give him some rest days, because he is always injured. Consistently over 70, easily got to be up in the 75.
72 games.
That's fine. He's never broken 70 in his career, so I would love 70 games and some kind of production that comes along with it. I just think the biggest thing for him is health for sure. But outside of that, he also, like, you saw flashes of what he was able to produce offensively toward the end of the season. He needs to carry that through because the Sabres need him to be a top 6 forward. But with Constellanius scoring that golden goal. He looks also like he could be on his way up and really scary, which is the best thing for Buffalo.
So, Josh, don't worry. We'll get your last name, not Doan, Norris, on the trophy and out in the mail
Or Allen.
shortly. So that is the 7 award winners. Thank you all for following along with us for another Sabre season as the Sabres go a bit dormant now and we go back to full-time Buffalo Bandits NLL action for the time being. On next week's show, we got the 5th annual Bandits BSC nominations. Check back on Friday. This Friday, June 5th, is when the fan favorite Buffalo Bandit post is going to be out there. It's going to be out there for about a week and a half. All you got to do is either DM us or leave us a comment on any possible post that's out there. We're going to be putting it in all our socials, all 5 of them. We're going to be posting it in all the groups that are possibly out there on Facebook. DM us, comment, whatever you need to do. All you need to do is just let us know who your favorite Buffalo Bandit was for this last season. Write their name in. It counts as a vote. Last year, I believe we went up and over 100 votes. I'll check back on that again, but it's that simple. And then the player with the most votes is the fan favorite of the year and will get the 5th annual Buffalo Bandits BSC fan favorite fan or player of the year. But that's pretty much all we got coming up. Ask the BSC will be back next week as well. So if you got any questions for us, submit them there. But Phil, anything else before we shut it down for another week of the off season?
Nope. Ready to go eat some dinner.
That's very fair. Phil's still recouping from Tap That Tap Room. He's tapping out. He is tapping out. That will conclude this one. We will talk to you all next Wednesday. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our channel at Buffalo Sports Collective, or website at buffalosportscollective.com. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us that review on Apple and Spotify. Again, fan favorite, Buffalo Bandits, out this Friday. Vote, vote, vote. Till next time. Bye-bye.